But I think Zambia as a country has workers that it even fails to pay on time. But the workers of PF cadres, workers of PF ministers, workers of PF members of parliament, PF staff get paid every other time. If you walk around, you see the people that are working as teachers, see how they are living, and see how people are working as friends of the party, and see how they are living. You find that the people that are working for the government are poorer than the people that are working for the party, for the PF. If he loves this country, I think he should just say, I'm not going to stand. I'm not going to stand.
Well, Pilato, others from within the PF that argue with you, and
they don't usually argue, they beat.
Well, they'll argue again with you.
They don't argue, Andrew, they beat.
They beat. Okay. Well, they'll say that, look, we've worked on most of the fundamentals.
Which are?
All right. We've worked on the health care system. We've built a lot of hospitals.
By supplying expired drugs.
We've built schools before the PF came in.
Where are we building those schools? How many desks are in those schools? What is happening in those schools?
We've got more than 5 universities from the time that the PF came into power.
But we failed to maintain the University of Zambia, where we are sending away people's poor
development in our country. The roads,
the only unprecedented development in our country is dollar selling at 21 kwacha, and we have scandals every month, like it's
and all that they're
that's
saying,
unprecedented.
And all that they're saying is that tulangisheni epota tuombele because
tulangisheni tuombele
because apengi not tuomba. Haven't they built schools? Haven't they built hospitals? Haven't they built roads? I'm sure you came driving properly here, Pilato. We didn't have Nangwenya Road here. It's been expanded and all that. The flyover bridges, don't you think that...
Andrew, I wish I was that simple. I wish I was that simple. I've been to a number of countries, even in countries where there are no governments, but they have roads. I've been to, if you go to Congo, they fight every single day. If you go to, wherever you go to Afghanistan, you find roads. So you can't tell me that giving me a road in a country like us, giving a road is a miracle. If the only thing you're going to tell me that you've done for me is giving me a road, I'll ask you whose car is driving there. Because you bought a Land Cruiser and you don't want your Land Cruiser to have a breakdown in the next 2 weeks, you just need a road. Whilst we do love the roads, we want the roads. What I'll tell you is, if these roads are conduits for corruption, if you're going to use these roads to steal from me, don't expect me to be blindfolded by a road that you bring in my yard so that you can steal from me and say, oh, Andrew, when I know that you use that road to steal. I'm not going to dance for that.
But how have they used the roads to steal?
You and I know, but maybe it's not safe to say now. We know. Andrew, you do know. I know, and you do know. Yes, we do.
One of the issues also that we're grappling with as a country is debt. We are in debt of excess of 18 billion, that is both domestic and external debt. How did we find ourselves here as a country?
So first of all, the question I ask myself is, if I'm going to borrow money, if I'm going to decide to borrow money from you, Andrew, I will first need to understand the need. So if my need is to rent my house, the second question I'll ask is, how much do I need to borrow from him so then I can pay for this house? If my rentals are at 3,000 kwacha, and I come to you and borrow 3,000 kwacha, I pay my rentals here, and then I still have the rental problem the same month, then there's a problem. Why I'm asking, why I say that is, what is the problem that we're trying to solve when we were deciding how much we were going to borrow? Were we just borrowing because we could? What is that one problem that we're trying to solve when we were deciding where to borrow and how much to borrow? There's no way, there's no reasonable person that would go to borrow money without quantifying the need. What is that need that they want to deal with? If we've borrowed $18 billion, right? Why is it that we still have load shedding? Why is it that the Zambia railway is still as it was? Why is it that we still have the problems that we had? And only that maybe we do not have anything in the foreign reserve now. Why is it that we still want to borrow when we don't even understand what we are borrowing for?
Is this a Zambia that we want? If not, what type of a Zambia should we create for ourselves?
This is not the Zambia we want, obviously. The Zambia we want is a Zambia where dreams of young people can come true even without them going to any other country. It's a Zambia, the Zambia we want is one where you can go to the hospital today and you find a well-paid, well-looked after doctor and nurse who will treat you respectfully because they are properly taken care of. Where the Minister of Health can fall sick and go to Kalingalinga Clinic or Chilenje Hospital and be treated like any other person. Where the Minister of Education's children can go to a government school, be educated, and go to University of Zambia, be educated from there. Where being a businessman in Zambia shouldn't mean that you belong to a political party in power. Where your name becomes just a decoration, not a determinant of what you qualify for and what you don't. Where human rights and human freedoms are guaranteed to you by the fact that you are a human being. Where women and men will mean the same, both in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of society. A Zambia where everyone can be allowed to dream, anyone can be allowed their share of dignity without prejudice and anything like that.
Well, what is at stake and what is true now is that we all hope that there could be that one leader, that will take us out of this economic doldrums that you're speaking about, Pilato. How should we begin to position ourselves as a country, to have the ideal Zambia that you've talked about? How should we begin to position ourselves, especially as we head towards the elections on the 11th of August?
To begin with, I do not believe in a hero syndrome. Zambia is a collective responsibility of every Zambian. And I would urge every Zambian not to look for a politician to solve our problems. Let's look at each other, because a politician is going to come amongst us, come out of us as a people. The problem with hero syndrome is what happened when President Mwanawasa died. Because everything that he espoused, everything that he stood for, went with him. As we go into the election, before you think of picking a leader, before you think of picking a party that you want to support, before you do any of those things, ask yourself, Are you doing enough to make sure that you create a society, you create a country that is fitting for all these things that I mentioned? It is not enough to have a good leader in a broken society.